agree. North Melbourne is the team that plays to win for you and me. So join in the chorus and sing it one and all. Join in the chorus, North Melbourne's on the ball. Good old North Melbourne, they're champions, you'll agree. North Melbourne is the team that plays to win for you and me.
Yes, Bazza, we found a way in what was a horrible game. We got up for the win, and that was one of our favourite bands, Alkaline Trio, with I Found a Way. Well, we found a way. North Melbourne. I was very up and about when we won, but we'll get into the game because they're not going to paper over the massive negatives in that game. Alkaline Trio, I Found a Way. May have a little waffle story about that right at the end of the pod for those who may care.
Righto, well, yes, welcome back, everybody. You just wanted to pull your eyes out watching that game yesterday. If you ever want to torture someone, put that on a 24-hour loop because it was not a good game of football. We got up, though, which is the main thing, 9-8-62 to the West Coast 6-16-52. Inaccurate kicking really hurt them, but if we can try and play the first three quarters next week, that'd be nice. And it was a really we were the worst side out there. We were lucky to play 20 minutes of good footy and got us the win, which I suppose the positive is in previous years we wouldn't have come back and had the resilience to play that good footy and take the lead back. But we've definitely been in West Coast situation where you've been run over the top plenty of times as well. But what is your biggest takeaway from yesterday's game?
Well, it was a putrid display for 2.5 quarters, but the leaders stood up in the end. Some stood up for the whole game, but everyone got on board for the last quarter. And we did win the first quarter, let's not forget. We 3 goals to nothing. And
we shouldn't have been, though. The inside 50s were huge.
Yeah. Yes, anyway, we'll get into that a bit deeper.
But my biggest takeaway is we see the players who are going to lead this club forward. Like, it's showcased in that last quarter. Finn O'Sullivan, he had a huge game. Surely he's the Rising Star nominee this week. He was fantastic. Colby McKercher, just leave him at half-back. It's what we've been saying all year. Clarko finally puts him there. He's the game changer for mine. He was brilliant. And Clarko finally puts Harry on the ball, which I've been calling for a long time as well. And he was huge in that last quarter with 12 disposals and setting the game up to be won.
Yeah, agree. And if you didn't mention the biggest man on the field with the biggest shoulders. And the biggest workload.
We will get to
Big X.
We will get to him, obviously, throughout the notes. But we'll start with our notes from the first quarter. So it was 3 goals to the West Coast 0-5. And it was only our second time this year that we'd won the first quarter.
Yeah, and just for the listeners, we didn't watch it together. But you rang me at quarter time and we had a bit of a chat about the game. And I said, well, hopefully you'll ring me back at halftime and we'll still be in a good mood. But it wasn't to be the case.
No, and you watched the game on 7 and I watched it on Fox, so yes. Different viewing for us both. But it started off really well with PC kicking the first goal, and it's something that we don't see often enough at forward 50 stoppages. He was on the move and he drew the free kick. Yeah. That's what happens. You get on the move and it causes panic for defenders.
Yeah, it was probably one of the softer free kicks you'll ever get, but he made the most of it.
And someone who started really well, I think our midfield was beaten all day, outside of X, obviously dominating the clearance. But someone who I thought was really busy early and impressive throughout the day was our skipper, Jai Simpkin. He was definitely setting the tone early.
He started off really well, was set up the goal to Parker, didn't he, with a handball out to Costanti, who hit Parker, and Parker got smashed, didn't he, in the marking contest, but didn't flinch. That's why he's CCC. Just took the contact, went back and slotted the goal.
Another positive, obviously West Coast started to get the ascendancy from a kick out, deep kick to our D50 line. Griffin Lowe contested mark down the line, Cam Zerha with a fantastic contested mark as well. Over the top to Larky, who got a free, which you'd probably surprised by, but we'll get to him. We'll get to him. There's big problems there. And ended up with Paul Curtis taking the advantage and kicking a second. So good to see Griff get some sticky jukes. We'll talk about his game in a bit more detail later on. But
Tell you who had the good jukes. Cam, your man Cam. His contested marking was really good. He was the only forward who really looked like taking contested mark. PC got one on the lead, I think, from an elite kick in the third from Colby. But, Cam's marking was really good.
And we looked really good when we had the ball in hand. The problem was that they were getting so many repeat inside 50s, and the game plan seemed to be from Clarko to flood the back line and try and run it out. But I think we had too many numbers.
I don't think we did try to run it out. That was the problem. We got the short kick, and then we kicked long to the wing, or just short of the wing, and then they outnumbered us, and they had all their numbers at the front of the pack. The ball normally comes to the front. That's where you set up almost defensively. In case they get it over the back, you can then put forward pressure on them. But they outnumbered us at the front. It was a weird game style for me. And if we flood back, let's chain it out with handballs. The only one who looked like doing that all day was Colby and CD.
Yeah. But it was weird, as you said, because we got all those numbers back, but then they were all sort of staying put and the old-fashioned flood. And then we ended up being severely outnumbered when we did go that long dump kick out.
No, and the only thing I will say about Sorf is he took at least 2 outlet contested marks. Probably 1-on-1 more than pack marks.
Well, he's one of the biggest talking points, so let's talk about it now. His opponent, Harry Edwards, who, if you did the old pub test, I reckon 1 person out of 10 at max would know who he was.
Yeah.
He took 5 intercept marks on him.
Yeah, and they didn't have McGlovin, as we like to call him, McGovern. Imagine what he'd have done, because he did in the pre-season game. We kicked it to him as much as we could, and he just stepped up and took over his role. Not good enough from Sorf. And the other thing, he'd get the ball on the ground, Sorf, and he'd fumble, or he'd try and take him on too much and get caught, tackled, holding the ball.
I reckon that was the worst game I've ever seen him play.
Yeah, I agree.
He was horrible.
He was terrible. He had 2 good contested marks up on the wing as an outlet kick, and that was about it for the day for him.
Severely out of form.
Yes.
So there's lots of listener questions when we get to that later in the pod as well about whether he stays in the side or not. But just on his form as a whole, it's horrendous. And it's been like a 6-week patch too. It's not like he's having the odd off game, which we could cop. But as a leader of the club, like when he's getting those ground balls, as you mentioned, he's not just giving the first option knowing, I'm not in the best form, I'll give my first option. He's trying to do too much, gets caught holding the ball. It's so frustrating.
Yeah, first option for you, Sorf, from now on. I agree. And he can be good 1-on-1 on the ground ball and get a snap round for goal, but it was too congested for him to break 1 tackle, let alone 2. But
we dominated contest and clearance in that first quarter, but the inside 50s ended up being 21-10 in West Coast favour. But Big X, he gave Fleet a bath, didn't he? How good is the Big X?
I've watched the game since on replay when there's no stress, because you know the result. And if the result hadn't gone my way, I probably wouldn't have watched it again. Let me give you the tip. But he pushes people over for fun out there. Not just the big ruckman who's the same size and weight. Anyone round the ball, round his area, just push, bang, in the side. They're out of the play.
Do you know what I love the most about him is? He'll wrap someone up, they'll blow the whistle, and then he'll say, oh, whoops, I fell over, and just land on top of them.
Yes, he did that a couple of times. Driving tackles on the side, so there's no free kick, but it hurt. And his follow-up work for a ruckman, it is elite. I've never seen a ruckman as good. He gets the first hit out to our mids, and then they get tackled, the ball spills free. X is the next one onto it. I've never seen any ruckman do that as well as him.
Yeah, he's having a sensational
season.
And
gets his own clearance.
He does.
Bugger you mids can't handle the ball. I'll just get it and thump it 50 metres.
Well, that's probably the only knock. Sometimes I think he just does too many blind dump kicks.
I think he has to, because the mids can't. Captain fumbles the mids, a lot of them. They're under the heat. He just, out of my way, ruckman. Bang, I've got it on my chest, kick it forward, especially when it's centre bounce around the centre area stoppage, because he's getting it deep in the forward line. Then it's up to your Nick Larkies to take a mark, bring it to ground.
Yeah, well, we'll agree to disagree on that.
Well, what would you like him to do?
I don't mind it in certain situations, but I think too much in our D50 he was just blind hacking it out.
How many Oh, he did it once, and it came a bit off the side of the foot, and they marked it on the 50 and kicked a goal from outside 50.
Yeah, I'm only being incredibly harsh. That's the only asterisk and the only negative I've got on his
So
game.
he will release a handball if someone's running past as well.
But our mids were severely out of form yesterday, and there's one in particular who might feature come watch list time. But I thought Constanti started really well.
He did.
He worked into the back line, and PC as well got a spoil in the last line of defence. So he was up working hard, bit of a wrecking ball, but he faded out of the game as well. And Caleb Daniel started whipping boy for North now, along with Elmac. But I thought he started really strongly in that first quarter, particularly.
Yeah, I thought he was a 4-quarter contributor. He had one howler earlier. It was probably his first or second possession, where it was a turnover in the centre of the ground. But apart from that, he took the right options, and it's probably not his fault if his only options kick it long down the line, and then all their smalls are front and centre. Where are ours front and centre?
Let's get
Do you agree or not?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, okay.
Let's get to the second quarter then. So we kicked with just the one behind. West Coast kicked 1 goal 3, and it started with we weren't playing well, but the umpiring didn't help. And that downfield free kick to Harley Reid against Paul Curtis was ridiculous.
I've watched that in replay. Still can't see where the freeze. I think PC gave away 3 free kicks in the first half, and watching on replay, I can't see where any of them were there. There was that one to Harley, unless he got him fair smack in the back, but it looked more in the side, and it was as he kicked it. And we had a few where we were on the receiving end of that, Elmac, and I can't remember all of them, but there were a few others, or it was just play on, which is what it should be. But it was almost like the umpires got the instruction to call a time. Come on, a few frees for wet toast. And they followed those instructions.
But we played horrendous football. We made West Coast look like a top 4 side. At halftime, the inside 50 count was 39-17. And if we did that against a Collingwood or a Brisbane, we'd be down 80 points at halftime. That's how bad we were.
We were. Terrible. And it's not just the points they kicked. They had at least 4 or 5 out in the full. So any better quality team, and they're putting it on the scoreboard.
Absolutely they are. But I thought Charlie Comben, along with Toby Pink, were really strong key defensive pillars for us yesterday. And we'll get to Chom and his injury, unfortunately. But I think even if they weren't playing, we would have been in huge trouble if, say, Aiden Core was there playing 20 metres off his man or something. So,
well, I had Chom as third best on ground for us at halftime. And unfortunately got injured early in the third. But, yeah, he was very important. He took the intercept, chest-tight marks when he could roll off and fill the space, and he got a big fist into it when it was a pack mark, because they had a couple of younger but tall key forwards.
But let's address the elephant in the room, because our midfield was so fumbly, the perceived pressure. But where were the stars? Like George Wardlaw, nowhere to be seen. Harry Sheasel was incredibly quiet in the first half. Luke Davies-Uniacke had a stinker all day, bar the last quarter. And we just, if we didn't have X, we wouldn't have won any out of the middle, I don't think, because our mids just did not look like it. I think Tommy Powell played okay, had high possessions, but he dropped an easy, uncontested mark from the kick out as well.
Yeah, well, we don't like hanging people for one mistake, but that's very rare to see a chest mark dropped. But I think that was their pressure. There was no pressure on him at the time other than the inferred pressure, but you got to be better than that. He had 30-odd possessions, but wasn't highly noticed, but he's still getting his hands on the pill, so...
Our ball movement in that second quarter particularly, it was so bad. No dare, just long bombs, hoping that Nick Larkey, who didn't look likely all day, would take a big pack mark, or Cam would float across. Yeah,
and, Darling, best he can do is bring it to the ground. He'll take a mark one-on-one, but if it's a pack, it's a bit hard for him because he's just a bit undersized to be doing that. And lacks the leap. I thought we need to switch. We didn't switch at all. I mean, if we tried to switch in the midfield, we'd turn it over. But we didn't do the U-turn round the back, from one back pocket to the others to at least shift the zone and then maybe go back again and make them run side to side. Then the gaps will open up. But I think that comes down to we just like really elite ball users in the back. I mean, aside from McKercher and little Mini Helmet, who's good for about 25 to 30 metres, there wasn't much. And there wasn't any movement, as usual. So we're stuck skinny side, kicking it long down the wing, and they just win it back, and that's why they had so many inside 50s. The only good thing, we may not have touched on enough, was the back line really stood up, didn't they?
They did.
I mean, they had a few easy shots they probably would like again, but for the amount of tide coming in, I thought they stood up well.
And the third quarter...
Oh, hang on, we've got one more on the one time we looked dangerous inside 50 was when PC had the ball running forward. I think it was Fisher who was the deepest, and he had Cam Zerha on the outside. I think he was waiting for Fisher to do a hook lead, come back up at the ball carrier, but he didn't. Whether he lacked that natural leading forward type in his brain, he kept running back out the back. Handballed Zerha. It was a good handball, but Zerha managed to drop it. Then back to PC, and he shinned it forward, and they managed to clean up what should have been almost a walking goal, or at least a set shot from inside 30, and we didn't score from it. And that summed up pretty much the second and third quarter for us.
Yeah, well, let's move over to more notes from the third quarter, and we were just weak over the football. I love this bloke, but I've got to call a spade. We're an opinions podcast, but Luke Davis-Uniacke did not want the contact yesterday. He had a couple of handballs or short kicks in that he had to sort of reach up for and didn't really want to put his body on the line. And then a couple of instances as well where he was picking the ball up and he wouldn't actually commit to... He sort of trying to pick it up and turn at the same time rather than committing to putting his head over the footy and picking it up, which was really frustrating. And we expect a lot better from him.
Well, those turnovers cost us. They may not have always cost us a goal because of their woeful kicking, but it did cost us turning it over in the middle. And then I think the flow-on effect was we lacked the dare to try and do it again. And they were kicks just over his head. He just got a hand to it. I think one was meant for Tommy Powell, who could have chest marked it, but he wouldn't have known that. He went up, touched his fingers. Tommy Powell deflected the ball. Tommy couldn't get it, and they're off to the races back the other way. So it was just no good. No good from him. He's he's got to be able to mark it above his head.
There was too many players yesterday that were just sort of jogging along, not wanting to put in the work defensively, it seemed. And one of my notes here is if Will doesn't play next week, we're right, because that's the one thing we know he'll do. And I still think the midfield, well, it's a great escape, basically, the win yesterday. And like you said, it papers over a few of the cracks because...
Oh, a lot of it. There's a lot of wallpaper over a very shoddy building.
The defensive work was garbage. Let's be honest.
In the midfield.
Yeah.
Well, X gives them first use. I mean, it might not be clean, but then the tackle, the ball spills and they get it on the outside.
There's too many broken tackles or ineffective tackles.
Yeah.
And
you're not going to get perfection all the time. There is another team out there, but it's just an area we've got to work on because we've got the best ruckman in the land giving us, not silver service on the plate, but he's giving us first touch. And then he gets sick of it and he thinks, well, stuff this, I'll do it all myself.
And another thing that frustrated me, and it's been frustrating me all year, is Clarko's inability to change things up. So you've got LDU in there having a shocker. George, when he's in there, he barely touched the pill all day yesterday, and we still will see the same 3 or 4 players in there time and time again, and finally changed it up in the last quarter with Harry going in there, and we saw the effect that had. But especially when they're getting all those inside 50s, I would have loved to see PC or potentially Cam Zerha with just a 5-minute run on the ball just to try and change things up, because whatever the game plan was, it wasn't working.
No, it wasn't, and they took him too long to change it until the last quarter, and look what happened there. We actually looked good running. We got the streaming through the middle, a few link-up handballs, and we managed, even though they weren't always clean, we had the numbers to keep it going. And I think West Coast played the Richmond-style game against us. Richmond brought it into a contest, didn't they? The corridor made a heavy stoppage. West Coast definitely guarded the corridor, but I don't know why we didn't switch more round the back. The only one who did it was Colby, and he did it with run, bounce, handball, receive, and you were sort of forced that way. But that's when we looked our best.
Well, let's talk about him a bit more, because there was positives to come out of yesterday, and he was 1A for me, because his game was fantastic. He had the run, he had the dare, the use. I don't care that he got caught a couple of times because he was trying something rather than just kicking out long down the line. I'm happy for him to get caught once or twice playing that aggressive linking play that he was, than just being safe and bombing it like some of our other defenders and just hoping that one of our forwards takes a huge pack mark.
Yeah, I mean, we looked the best when he had the ball in his hand, didn't we? Looked actually like we were playing modern football.
Well, Sheasel and Foss were the three in that last quarter.
Yes, Foss was really good, particularly the last quarter. He's so safe, and we're going moving on to Foss now. I like the fact that when he can't take possession or he's going to get tackled, he just taps it in front of him a bit and gets. It's like a basketball dribbler.
Well, he's untackleable. I've told you.
Yeah, well, he is, and then if he thinks he's going to, he just taps it in front, and the ball bounces back up to him, 2 or 3 metres away. So he's very composed for an 18-year-old.
Oh, he's a star. He's a star in the making, and it was not. I don't know if it was the same on Channel 7, but on Fox, they were very happy with his game and glowing about how much of a star he's going to be. Jared Healy, especially, which caught me off guard because, as we know, he's one of the most anti-North commentators.
Yeah, did he bring Sydney into the commentary? He likes to bring Sydney in every time he can.
No, he didn't yesterday, actually. Might have been a directive from the level 5ers, the HR.
Yeah, well, I noticed that on 7 they didn't mention the free kick count much, and I had to learn that from you, that it was so lopsided. I mean, the eye test said it was, and it was the 50-50 as we're talking about.
Well, for the listeners who might not be across it, it was 26-16, the free kick count.
And they every time we tackled them, especially in the second quarter,
I think
it
it was
be a free kick. And what about the Zoo? We had a good run. He dropped the mark, jumping into someone's back, and they called it a push under. And Jai was running onto the ball inside 50. He touched the ball. Why was that a free?
I don't know.
Okay.
A lot of them I don't know, but we were just speaking before the pod off air about when Jack Darling gave away the free kick when Parker took the mark, and then he gave away the 50. They thought on Fox that he was trying to tell the umpire that the footy was flat.
Oh, right. I didn't mention that on 7. I just thought he was saying, I marked it. And it's like, well, the free kick's for the Darling push. But he's trying to tell him it's flat. No, 50.
Yeah. We gave away a couple of 50s, actually.
Yeah, and so did they. They gave one to Foss kicked his first goal.
Yes, big shout out to him.
Yes, clutch. Anyway, we'll move on.
Yes, there's still plenty more negatives, but a lot of them tie into listener questions, so we'll reserve that for there. The fourth quarter. So I was like Clarko. I was so angry, but I couldn't sit down at home. I was just furious. So I was just pacing up and down because it had been an atrocious performance for the 3 quarters. But we finally saw some positional changes, as we'd mentioned, and a bit of dare in our game, Chief, which was bloody overdue.
Well, X continued the dominance around the stoppages and clearances, and we actually got some run and link up and better ball use. So at 3 quarter time, I was thinking, what do we do? This was putrid. There were too many players without the skill level. We've been smashed by a team that's 2-3 years behind us in the rebuild.
Yeah, we've lost Charlie Comben.
And our first draft pick's going to be in the 30s after all the father-sons. So what have you got to look forward to? But I was still positive on our group chat. There was a bit of negative going on, and I said, we're still in this.
I reckon there was negativity in every North group chat around the country.
Oh, no doubt. But, I'm glass half full. The game wasn't over. We had 1 quarter, and look what happened. We came back. We actually found a bit of mojo. We changed the game plan, Clarko, and we dominated.
We got our best user in the midfield, which helped.
Yep, and players who had a bad day, like LDU, stood up and had some impact.
Parker was another one.
Parker was awesome, wasn't he? He was awesome. And that's probably what's keeping Will Phil out, because would Will Phil have that impact?
Well, I'll tell you what, he would have bloody tackled in the first 3
Yeah,
quarters.
I know he would have. Hey, no one's a bigger Will Phil fan than me. And, we love his 26-inch pythons. And that's why he can tackle. But, yeah, Parker was really stood up in that last quarter.
I want to give a shout out to a player who won't be in any of the coaches' votes or not. He's not in my votes later on in the Bestie, who was close though. But Toby Pink again gets the job. Oscar Allen.
Yep.
Flogged him.
Yep.
Just another one.
We sort of predicted, you wanted Chom on him, which I sort of agreed with, but they played Chom well, didn't they? And Toby got the job on Oscar Allen, and he did sweet FA pretty much, didn't he? Got a couple of free kicks. Took 1 mark on the boundary, I think, had a shot and probably kicked it out in the fifth. Can't remember exactly, but yeah, Toby did a great job on him. And on the back line, and this would have killed us if we were playing any other team than probably West Coast or Richmond, but we had an assertive played in front, and because their ball use is rubbish, we were able to spring off the back line, get the ball first. Happened, Elmac did it, McKercher did it, Caleb Daniel did it. Like, we were just playing that 10, 15 metres in front, and like I said, a better team would have got it over the back to their opponent, but horses for courses, and that was a big win. And while we're on Colby, we forgot this, deep in the last quarter, he had a one-on-one with Harley. And the 7 commentators were almost calling it Mark of the Year before he got it, and he didn't get it because Colby got the fist in. And I think then we cleaned it up. So that wouldn't be on your bingo card, that Colby outperformed Harley, especially in a one-on-one marking contest.
His defensive work the last month has been fantastic.
Yeah. Didn't get as many tackles yesterday, but he ran off really well. And talking about the Channel 7 commentators, they did mention number 1 and number 2 pick quite a bit, but then they didn't sort of mention that 2 years in a row, the number 2 pick has absolutely flogged in performance out the number 1 pick. Because down at Boot Park, I think Colby had one of his best games last year at about 35, and he's backed it up in Harley's home, well, not his home, but his home team's state with another 35. And Harley down at Boot Park, he posted core with a mark on the wing. That was all he did that game, and he didn't do much yesterday.
No, well, they did mention that a fair bit on Fox, but it was mostly when those couple of times where Harley got McKercher holding the ball. But they didn't mention that
every time
on, when Colby had 35 and...
That was pretty much Channel 7's version as well.
I didn't have any... I actually didn't write any notes, but I want to say Clarko showed some restraint when he got up and at one point was doing a little shadow boxing with the wall. I thought, oh dear, you're in trouble here.
Yeah, that was a good restraint, because that would have been the front page, not the we win, wouldn't it, if he'd have punched a couple of holes in the wall. And, I changed it up. Well, I was taking notes all game. I thought, if Clarko's not changing anything up at 3/4 time, I threw the book on the floor and thought I'm just going to watch. And I've since re-watched it. And credit to Clarko, they did change it up in the last quarter, but why did it take that long?
But the weird thing is, like, when we got it back to 10 points, I was so confident we were going to win. Just the way we were playing.
Yeah.
West Coast did exactly what you can't do in today's footy and just try and save it for the last 10 minutes.
Yep.
And we just kept coming and coming. Zach Fisher had about 5 chances in the last quarter. My God, man. If you're a left footer in the left forward pocket, probably swing it inboard or give the hands to Zerha at one point. But
Well, kick the goal.
Yeah.
He hit the post. That was a bit unlucky from running inside 50.
But those other ones, when he's in the left forward pocket as a left footer, that's like a 2 out of 10 chance.
Yeah. Do you reckon? I reckon he's got a kick there.
Well,
He had one smothered and one he kicked out in the full. I mean, he's got to be left forward pocket on your left foot running at the goals. Surely you kick that.
He's got to be better.
He wasn't tight on the boundary. Anyway, he does have to be better, but he did look dangerous in getting that ball.
But yeah, as we mentioned, the leaders stood up. Jai was awesome in that last quarter. Harry Sheasel, that is the Harry Sheasel we know, that we haven't really seen much of this year. Back to his best. Kane Corn's pretty vocal. That's he's doing, because that's where he wants Harry. And
Well, we've been calling for that for, certainly all this year, and maybe the start of last year, to get him forward to centre with still centre appearances.
that's what he was doing last year, though. That's why when he was playing his good footy in the second half of the year last year.
Well, second half of the year, we were calling for it at the start of last year because he had his rookie season off half-back. That's fine, and dominated, and then get him up round the ball and forward to centre to impact the scoreboard, which is something we struggle to do.
I think in the last few weeks he's been spending too much time forward. He needs to be like a mid who plays forward, not a forward who has the occasional CBA, bounce of 10 minutes. For him to play his best footy, I think, anyway. Yeah,
fair enough. Well, we'll probably disagree a bit. I'd like him forward and mid. For probably 50-50 split. I don't know. We've got so many midfielders. They can't all be in there.
Yeah, but we've got to play him in there.
Yeah,
and take Parker out.
Yeah, look what happened in the last quarter. Yeah, Parker looked good forward as well, didn't he? Like, he'll stand under the ball and take the body contact. Good finish after that too, because it was fair dinkum smashed.
Yeah.
You'd love this on Channel 7. They said it was like it was off the top turnbuckle.
They said that on Fox too. I think that might have been, you might have watched the replay on Fox and got a bit confused, I think.
Well, I did. I actually watched half it on Fox, and then Fox died on me, so I had to go back to the AFL website. So, apologies. So 7 weren't that good then, were they?
No.
You'd have been up and about that one.
I did like that reference, but Right, that's our match notes. Still plenty to talk about in our listener questions, but we'll move on to the next segment.
Which is the most prestigious award in all of the AFL, the bestie.
Yes, named after the great Ryan Bastanak, who we had on episode 7, I think, from memory, and we're on 119 today, so we'll get to our 19 a bit later on in the show. But I'll go first. I gave 5 votes to Colby McKerchie. He had 35 disposals, 89% disposal efficiency, 613 metres gained, 5 clearances as well. So I thought he was huge. He turned the game for us. We only looked like scoring when he had ball in hand, and I thought a really great game from him, and I liked seeing him off half-back and taking the kick-ins as well.
Yes. I think he I haven't got the stats in front of me, but I reckon it was about 50-50 split between he and CD on the kick-ins.
The 4 votes I gave to Tristan Sherry. Very unlucky not to get the 5. 4-quarter performance from him with the 22 disposals. He had 10 clearances as well as 37 hit-outs and 6 tackles. So just rinse and repeat for the Big X. He's just as consistent as they come.
Yep. And Kingy's called David King, for those playing along at home. He's called for him lock All-Australian.
Well, get him on the panel then.
Exactly. We'll get someone from North on the panel who might have a little bit of, just a teeny bit of favouritism. That's all we want, just a little bit. Because we've got no one on the panel. We never have.
No. The 3 votes I gave to Paul Curtis. 8 disposals, 3 goals. I thought he was damaging and really happy with his game. The 2 votes I gave to our skipper, Jai Simpkin. I thought he stood up when the game was on the line. 23 disposals, 2 goals, and very clutch in front of goal to seal the game. But in that 3rd quarter, when we're slowly starting to come, he had a set shot, and it would have been easy just to spray it, and then you don't know what happens from there. But he stood up and done what he has been doing all year, and being really reliable in front of goals. So he gets the 2. And the 1 I found incredibly hard to give. Could have given it to Toby Pink for his role. I really wanted to give it to my man Cam for winning the game for us. But I've ended up giving it to Harry Sheasel just for that last quarter. I mean, he was influential. 28 disposals. He had a ton of score involvement, 6 to go along with 3 clearances and 7 tackles. So I thought he stood up really well and responded with 20 disposals in the second half.
Yes, and you told me, because it was mentioned on Fox and I was watching on 7, that he spent 13 minutes on the bench at one stage.
Yeah, it was the second quarter, I reckon.
Yeah, when we weren't playing that well in the second. Maybe get one of your best players.
Because one of the commentators, because the thing that shits me about Fox is they didn't call it from the ground. So one of the commentators has given Harry a clip, but Will Schofield at ground level, nah, boys, he's been on the bench for the last 30 minutes.
That's right. They've got to get to the ground.
Yeah.
Surely.
Terrible.
Anyway, it's hard to impact when you're sitting on the pine. Right, my 5. Well, no surprise here. Big X. I mean, he was a 4-quarter player. He smashed him around the clearances. He smashed him whenever he could. That young Hoff, he ran through him and put him on his ass real quick, didn't he? He was pushing him at anyone around the stoppage wearing a West Coast jumper. You just got to push in the side from X, and they're one less player. Just smashed him in the clearances. His follow-up work, I've touched on him enough. He was fantastic. Colby, very unlucky. I had to decide, is it the 4-quarter? Well, I think they're both 4-quarter performances. But is it the guy doing the grunt, the heavy lifting, laying the foundation, or the icing on the cake, which was Colby? Both got to be brave. Both got to take him on. Like Colby takes him on with his run and bounce and dash and handball receives. And his elite kicking. That kick to PC in the 3rd quarter, where PC, and then he kicked an absolute clutch goal from the boundary. That was elite. And that's what we need more of. That was a real toss-up, but it's come down with X. Jai, I thought he played a real captain's game. He started off on fire. We probably bagged the midfielders a bit, but I think he was the closest to the 4-quarter performer.
Yeah, I agree.
Of a midfielder. Really stepped up in the last. He kicked that goal you mentioned. He had a snap deep in the last, kicked a point, which turned the ball up. Well, it's a turnover because they get 90 seconds to run up the ground, and then Harry set him up. And watching the replay, I did see it live as well, but the replay, he had Silv all on his own for a handball receive. I just think he deliberately burned him and thought, no, I'll do it myself, because Silv was having such a mare, he'd probably dropped the ball for a handball receive.
And then tried to fend someone off and got caught.
Yeah, he got caught, turnover. So, he stepped in, solid on the right foot snap, and that was the game then and there. So well done, Jai. I gave 2 to CD, Caleb Daniel. I thought his ball use, except for the one howler, was really good. His slick hands in the contest too. He finds an outlet handball. I remember Fisher dropped one received from him, and it wasn't the handball fault. It's just the skill level of Fisher at the time, and probably their pressure as well. I thought he was good. He was a 4-quarter performer. When the ball was constantly living in our back line, he was able to extract it. And I gave 1. I actually changed this on the replay. I gave 1 to Zerha. His pack marking, contested marking was really good throughout the day. Unfortunately, none of the forwards really got a good look at it consistently, did they? And he kicked the 2 clutch goals. I mean, a quarter time, I was dirty. He missed that one, which was probably the easiest set shot he had after a good pack mark in the first quarter from about 30. Not much of an angle, and he sprayed it. And I thought, we're a team. We need to take every opportunity, get the scoreboard pressure on them, let them drop their heads, and then run on with it. But in the last, where there was a hell of a lot more pressure on him, and that last one he kicked, there was about 2 minutes remaining. I reckon if he misses that, they probably win.
Yeah.
So and what a pack mark. Standing in front, he had PC and everyone jumping over the back of him and just held it to the ground. The 7 commentators didn't even know he marked it. They were calling Curtis and they paid a mark. And then the replay showed it. That was his mark the whole way. So good umpiring, but even better marking and even better finishing. So I gave him the 1 vote. And as I said, Chom was very good in the first half, but he obviously didn't play the second. Harry's last quarter was fantastic. These are the unluckies. Paul Curtis kicked 3. Once again, limited opportunities, but he was very good.
Just want to mention, seeing you just talked about Chom there, for those that might have been at the game or I don't know if they mentioned on Channel 7, but with Chom, they think it could be either a collarbone or a shoulder blade. But then in Clarko's presser, he mentioned that it was just a sore back. So hopefully there's no structural damage and it's just bruising and he's not out for too long because he's such an important part of this side, as we well know.
Yes. Well, firstly on 7, they thought it was his wrist. Because when you do your shoulder, as I know, you sort of cradle your arm. But they didn't finally get to that it's the shoulder. And they couldn't put him back on because they were unclear of the structural damage at the time. Obviously, got to go for scans and do all that. So hopefully he comes up okay. Right.
From the segment you want to be in to the segment you don't, let's move on to the watch list.
All right. Bailey Scott's on there. Obviously, he played VFL. I think he went okay. But you don't get off it by playing well in the VFL. Griff Logue, interesting. First game back after 4 games in the VFL. He was okay. He wasn't outstanding. Got outmarked in 1 marking contest, so I can remember.
Yeah, by Harley, I think.
Oh, it must have been 2 then, because the bloke was a lot taller than him. It might have been Archer Reid, I can't remember.
Yeah, it was, and I don't know how he missed that. Archer Reid, he missed it from about
well, thank God. Well, if they kick one of those 14 points and 5 out in the Fulls, they win, don't they? So, anyway, I'm not going to give him... what do you reckon? I'm going to give this to you.
I think he's probably a dash.
Yeah, well, that's what I was thinking. It's probably...
Did some okay things, didn't...
Took that good contested mark and then set up one of our good 4. Yeah. So, we'll give him a dash. Caleb Daniel, I'm giving a tick. And he is off the watch list. That's about the 2nd graduate this year, isn't he?
Yeah, and Clarko. Right, who's next?
Colby McKercher, he gets a tick. He's had 3 ticks in the last 4 games. I'm happy to take him off. 3rd graduate.
Yep, happy with that.
His diploma will be in the mail. Darcy Tucker's obviously out injured for the year. Jai Simpkin, he gets a tick. Gee, for a game where we played poorly... Well, you can see who stood up and getting ticks. He's had 4 ticks in the last 5 games, and 3 in a row. So he's another graduate. Gee, Australia Post are going to be making some money with me sending out all the graduation diplomas. Nick Larkey, well, do we need to debate this?
No. Can you give him a double X? Because if there's ever a game...
Yes. No, you can't. But yes, if you could, he'd probably get 2 X's. But it's 1. Aidan Cord did not play, injured. You're on the watch list still because next time we go to a game live, you're going to have to wear some form of merch.
Which will be in Lonnie in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, well, we're playing. Actually, we're going to the Hawthorn Adelaide game.
Yeah, we're going Friday Night Lights.
Well, where then?
I'll be having the old Tassie tuxedo. The big puffer jacket will be getting a roll on Friday night, I would have thought.
Yes, I would have thought. Anyway.
The North Lawyers as well. They got.
The North Lawyers. Well,
we should have brought this up a couple of weeks ago because they got Alex Pearce off, not the North Lawyers, the Freo Lawyers.
Yeah. We must get first year interns from like some sort of third world country Coro law degree.
Well, I've got a couple of people I want to push onto the watch list this week. So
all right. Well, the North Lawyers. Let's hope they don't get a chance to do anything because no one gets reported for some football incident. But they seem to be getting off. Like you see the one, and he should. Who's Geelong?
Tom Stewart.
Tom Stewart, a good hip and shoulder. Didn't get him high, but his head whiplash. I mean. That was a North player, and not a 5-time All-Australian from Geelong. I wonder if that was just too rough. It's just too rough. And I'm glad Emma nothing to see here, but early in the year, I reckon that probably would have been looked at just because of the effect. And then soon you might be able to bump or tackle. It'll be touch.
Yep, there'll be flags.
No, don't let me start. Yeah, anyway, so I think they've lessened it a bit, but wait till a North player put someone in half jeopardy.
PC will do it next week.
Well, he gets a free kick every time he tackles someone. That's ridiculous. So, anyway, who do you want on?
Well, I have a strong case that I think Luke Davies-Uniacke should be on the watch list.
Okay, now the watch list is for someone performing under par for them. It probably has to be grossly under par. Like it has to not just a little under par.
I think
if you want in golfing terms, it has to be a double or triple bogey.
Would he be in our top 7 in the BNF?
What's he in the bestie? You do haven't got it in front of you.
Oh,
but how many bad games does he play? Because I think you can't just go on for one bad game. It has to be a pattern.
Well, I just don't think he's hit anywhere near the heights of last year, to be honest. He's not impacting games.
Yeah, all right. Well, okay.
And
how many bad games in a row?
I don't want to talk about the money, but when you sign a 7-8 year deal, and we know what it's worth.
The money comes into it in a little way because it's what we expect from you. Like, we don't expect, Jacob Consanti to have 13 kick 3 every week, do we?
No.
But we probably expect LDU to have 25 and have a good impact. Agreed?
Yeah, and he had...
But is it one game or is it a pattern? He's been down a little bit for the year.
Yeah, I just don't... Yeah, I think it's a pattern.
All right.
I don't think he's on the verge of being dropped, but I don't think he's performing anywhere near what he can.
Yeah, okay. Well, he's on. Anyone else?
Well, I think Constanti would have to be in consideration, and Luke McDonald after yesterday. I mean, he had a pretty good last quarter, but he's floating towards those areas as well.
No, Elmac, I think, defends really well. Ball in hand. It's got to be a long dump kick, doesn't it?
Ideally, a handball.
Yes, ideally. We did set up a goal shot a goal from a really aggressive hand. That might have been the one to Colby. I can't remember. But Harry gave it to him. Then he played on immediately with an aggressive forward handball. I body on the line. He got crunched by Harley. I think defensively he is fine, or he's better than fine, but with ball in hand. And that kick to Robbie Hanson Jr., where it came short and was intercepted, there was all that space over the back. If you're going to make an error on the kick, give it a little bit extra weight. Because he's not catching Robbie.
No.
And there was no one immediately behind him. So that was just a poor mistake from a senior player. But ball in hand is not as great. But he did get the release handball, where the commentators on 7 were almost calling for holding the ball, cheering for West Coast in the last 30 seconds of the game. Do you remember that? He played in front, came forward, got tackled, but did get the ball out, and thank God the umpires didn't call it incorrect disposal or anything like that. So I'm saying no to Elmacca. He spent most of last year on it, if you remember, and did graduate, I think, in the end. Happy? Yeah. Are we moving on?
Yes. There's another one.
Cassandi, I think he's dropping too many marks, isn't he? Like, marks you think you'd like an AFL player to take it, like overhead, a little bit of pressure, but just like him to grab. I think that's where someone like a Cooper Harvey will grab those, and then it turns the whole game around because then you've got control of the ball. You're probably having a shot for goal, not rebounding off half back. So I think they've got a decision to make on him whether he plays, but we didn't have high expectations of him, so he has had a good run of it. What would we do with him? I'm going to hold for 1 week.
Speaking of holding for 1 week, I'm also going to watch on your man George, because if he has another low disposal, no impact game, he'll be on there too.
Gee, you're taking over my segment. Haven't you got Baz's big call? That's enough for you.
Yeah, well,
You run the show.
George is close. We haven't really spoken about him, but 9 disposals.
Yeah,
is
not
good
enough. Not enough. But hard as a cat's head, wasn't he? Well, he broke. Who's
Well, so is Will Phil, but he can't get in the team, can he?
Well, true. But didn't he? Who's the Hewitt? He broke his foot with his hand. That's got to be worth something. Got him off the ground for a while.
That's very true. We'll move on to our favourite player corresponding with the Guernsey number. So episode 119 today, so the number 19, and we've both gone with the same player. Let's just say the number 19 isn't exactly the most decorated number at the North Melbourne Footy Club, but we've both gone for Sammy Wright.
Love Sammy, the great interceptor.
Yeah, the great indoor cricketer too.
Yes.
That's probably too much time in the change rooms playing cricket and not enough on the training deck.
Sam, great mark for his size. Like, very good. I remember he started out playing forward and he wasn't very clutch because my memory of him is running, getting a loose ball when the game was on the line in that Brad Scott era, and he'd always kick a point. Now, that's probably a bit harsh, but that's my memory of him. He'd get the opportunity, but just wasn't quite clutch enough to finish. Not like your man Cam had finished yesterday.
Yeah, we haven't spoken about him enough.
No, and but then the great intercept, which he'll be written on his tombstone, won't it, in the
2014
elimination final against the Filth, and turned that game on its head right there and then. But yeah, good mark, big hands. I think that's why he was good at grabbing the pill in the air.
But he was a really solid defender, wasn't he? Really reliable when he went in defence. And unfortunately, we were there when his career probably came to an end.
Yeah, down at we flogged Richmond
on a Friday night.
Friday night at Boot Park, and he did his ankle and never came back, or if he did, he was never the same. I can't remember, but he was out for ages. And apparently, he liked a bit of the Colonel, bit of Dirty Bird, bit of KFC.
He did. Yeah,
I think did Jack throw him under the bus when Brad came back that they'd eaten KFC on the way back from Ballarat or somewhere?
Yeah, and I think he might have, once he retired, been a frequent there.
Well, I think that was his first meal after retirement. Yeah. After Anstey's retirement, bucket of KFC, he just smashed that.
And he's the coach of Collingwood AFLW now.
He is. He was at North AFLW for a while, and they poached him. He was in charge of the forwards, I think, at North.
But just some other notable number 19s. You were big on Dean McRae.
Yeah, I liked him as in the late 80s, early 90s. He just a tall half-back runner, sort of fairly, put his head over the ball type. We had a young team then, not a great team. We had a few leaders or elder statesmen in the team, but mostly young. The emerging players for the great 90s teams, and we recruited Laidley and the Lizard's dad, I can't think of his name.
John
Blakey, and they sort of pushed him out of that half-back flank area, and he went to Sydney for a couple of years.
Just another couple quickly. Daniel Motlop, obviously we know the talent he was for his brief time at the North Melbourne Footy Club, and Premiership player Cam Mooney. Yeah,
well, Cam Mooney, best known for Premiership 99 Donuts, and Motlop, top 10 talent, but didn't even get to 50 games, did he, at North, and then he went to Port Adelaide, so he's probably more a Port player. But he was good, he was talented, Motlop. But I think we both settled on Sammy Wright as our favourite. Okay, well now we've got the True Shimboner Award. Don't award this every week, but I've got 2 nominations, and I'll give it to the second one. The first nomination is George Wardlaw. Didn't have a great game, but as we said, he broke Hewitt's foot pretty much just by Hewitt kicking into George's granite hand they were running with Al Nicholson on the 7 commentary, calling Granite George. And then he got poleaxed by Brockman, I think, when he had the handball receive and got blindsided, but straight back up. They mentioned that on Channel 7. Straight back up looking for the next contest. You don't stay down, well, especially when you're CCC. This is why he's CCC all over. And he front-on contact in a big contest, and I think that might have been in the last, on the wing, sort of our forward half of the wing. And Gimby got him front on, no free kick, of course, for George, but straight back up, and he got flattened. And he was the first one, they got the loose ball behind the contest, and he was the first one there putting pressure on. That's George all over. So, true shinboner stuff there.
We didn't get it, so move on to...
No, well, who did was Cam. Your man Cam. You should be... Look at your chest puff out now. He did his body on the line a couple of times. When the bloke from Melbourne tried to kick it out of the air, and he kicked him right in the guts.
Oh, Jaden Hunt,
yeah. Jaden Hunt. No free, of course, but put his body right on the line there, and then, of course, his contested marking, and particularly the clutch one and goal. So he's a true shinboner of the week, Big Cam Zerha.
Right, let's get into the listener questions. Start on Instagram with Snake Coma. Larky is becoming a real issue in the team. Constantly doesn't half a contest. That is the most frustrating thing. He can be out of form, but he's too easily getting outmarked and just running around complaining to the umpires a lot of the time, which shits me.
Yeah, he's got to be better.
He needs to go to training with X and bloody George Wardlaw, follow them round for a little bit and stop worrying about his hair.
Yeah, well, he is a worry, but I mean, he's not going to be dropped because who's replacing him?
Well, yeah, that's the thing, and he won't get dropped anyway. But
no,
I reckon we had 40 questions on Nick Larkey, so we've.
What do we do with him? We just got to persist, and hopefully, I mean, it was a bit unlucky where I think LDU, did his spin moves and kicked it to him on the lead and just was 5 metres in front of him. But then it was his fault because the ball bounced up to him and he fumbled it and then got tackled. Just be clean with the ball. You're not always going to get it lace out on your chest, especially when you're playing for North.
Yep. H_Valentine would love a long-term discussion on team selection. Blokes are playing well in the twos and not getting a look. Well, there's no selection integrity at the moment.
No. Well, I think, like we've mentioned Cassandi, there's probably time to give someone else a go. Who else? Will Dawson. Does he come in and try and play as a pack marking, contested mark forward of the ball in the forward line? Be interesting with Chom. Are they just going to rinse and repeat core?
No, I'm going to go strong on this. And I said this in the group chat. This is the perfect time to play Whitlock.
Oh, I agree.
He can play tall, he can play small. He can play on a Jai Amos next week, for example. What's the benefit of playing core, who's going to give away 15 free kicks in a game that we're not going to go in as favourites? I think you've got to. I'd play Whitlock 100%.
Yeah, so would I. And I'd almost think about Dawson up forward if we want to go back to the 3 talls.
Yeah, either him or Finbar. Well, Dawson could probably second ruck.
Oh, that's all right.
And they do have, actually, that's a good discussion point because they've got obviously Jackson and Darcy as well.
Yeah.
So you don't want JD going against Luke Jackson.
No.
Big trouble.
No. Yeah. We're looking at an 80, 90 point loss if we play like we did on the weekend against Freo.
What, at half time?
Yeah.
We'll lose by 160 if we play like that next week. Bolton and Tracy, they'll take the PI 55. Right. But yeah, when Will Phillips obviously is the big one that everyone's talking about, and I'd like to see him in.
Yeah.
Cooper Harvey.
Cooper Harvey for Cassandi. And these are all discussions, thought bubbles, but we can't just roll with the same team. Like I said the preview pod, if we win, we'll probably, won't change a winning team, but that was not a winning team. We won on the scoreboard because they kicked horrendously. How many more scoring shots do they have? Heaps.
You're catching me off guard.
Yeah, I know, you don't have to answer. The people know. They kicked a lot of points and at least 5 out in the fools.
Yeah, well, it was 17 to 22, but like you mentioned, they kicked about at least 4 out in the field.
Yeah, and from 20 metres out, they were missing him. That big fella missed one from 20 metres out in the full, didn't even score.
Yeah.
I mean, they were horrendous. Thank goodness, because we were horrendous in game style.
Well, that comes into the next question from Tory_boy. He says, worst win I've seen in years, but a win's a win, I guess. Won't be rewatching that one in a hurry.
No, well, I did. Only because I had to talk about it.
I reckon North fans want the Men in Black, the Minder racer,
Yes.
So to just get that out of your head, because it was a horrendous game.
Well, the last quarter they can keep.
Yeah.
Because we like the last quarter and probably the first 8 minutes of the game. The rest was terrible.
Oh, absolutely it was. And someone here has got on Twitter, George in the gun. He's going 50% most of the time. Love him. What's wrong? Well, I'm not sure he's going 50% most of the time, but he's definitely not getting enough of the ball, and he's not getting to enough contests either. So I don't know whether it's a fitness thing.
I think he was playing forward a bit too. He wasn't always centre bounce, was he?
No. Horace, we played terribly. However, we would have never come back in the last 15 minutes in previous years. That's progress.
I agree. I actually agree with that. But the leaders stood up. I think that was in our biggest takeaway. They showed some grit and determination and willingness to take it on, and it paid off. But again, we shouldn't have been in that position against that team. I mean, it was a 17th versus 18th team, wasn't it? A game.
That was horrible.
Yeah, and the conditions were good. Bit of sun in your eyes occasionally, I suppose. But apart from that, there was negligible wind or anything.
Well, there was a lot of wind when we played them in the pre-season.
Yes.
But it was not a breath of fresh air, according to Will Schofield at ground level yesterday.
Yeah.
So, next up, Danny May. Has Bakircha gone past Harley Reid? Rapidly improving.
Yeah, we called that last year.
Yeah,
and Coach had a bit of it. Well, he got himself on the watch list, didn't he? So he'd obviously had a down year, but he's off it now, and he's flying the last month.
Herky next, who says, surely Wilfield has to come in. Midfield is not doing enough, and with Sarong and Brayshaw, we need a more defensive mid.
Yeah, don't mind.
George not giving us enough at the moment.
Yeah. I think it's George or Parker who he's coming in for, if anyone, unless we just roll with 19 midfielders. And Parker stood up in the last quarter and can play forward. So might be Georgie boy, give him a rest.
Yeah. Lots of talk about Bench potentially coming in for Fisher as well.
Well, I thought Fisher looked dangerous, except he couldn't kick. Like, he had shots, didn't he?
I thought actually Hanson Jr. was all right when he came on.
Yeah, there was one I was filthy with him in the back pocket area where I didn't think he quite went hard enough, put his head over the ball. But on replay, it wasn't as bad when the red miss is going because you're watching it live. But he still could have gone probably a tad harder. But he was really good. One of the switches was to him standing on his own in the middle of the ground, and he didn't mark it, but he kept control of it. And we end up to Harry to your man Cam and kicked the goal. So he could have easily LDU'd that, couldn't he? Well, that's a bit harsh on LDU, but we did mention he fumbled a couple going through the midfield when they tried to take it on to him.
Yeah.
And it wasn't always his. The kick wasn't perfect, but you're not going to get perfect kicks in the AFL all the time.
No. Daniel Leeworthy on Facebook. We had good first and fourth quarters. Why can't we string a four-quarter effort together? Because I just don't think we're that good. Obviously, we're 16th now, but obviously we're a bottom four side. But I just don't think we've seen these players improve enough over a long time. We're mentioning LDU now. Tom Powell fumbly at times. I mean, and then all our stars are out of form. Like Nick Larkey, All-Australian, out of form. LDU, out of form. George, out of form. Harry, besides his second half. If you look at his year as a whole, out of form.
Yeah, they've just dropped off, haven't they? Whereas Big X is keep going.
Yeah,
he's actually improved again. So we've got a couple like Stevens has improved. I thought his game was serviceable yesterday.
Yeah. I don't think he was sort of in the best, but I thought he played a role well.
Yeah, he did. And just some rise and some are just too many have probably dropped off a little bit. Like it only takes 5 or 10%. They're the stars that we need driving the team.
Exactly, like you mentioned that 5 or 10%, but when you add 8 players in, it's 80% all of a sudden. So I think that's a great point, and I think we're still with the youth. You're never going to get a full 120-minute performance anyway. But it is really frustrating. Mitch Lord, who says the votes would have been extremely difficult if not for the last quarter. That is 100% right.
Yeah,
in terms of the bestie votes.
It was. And, I try to look at probably more the 4-quarter contributors. But the last quarter was where we won the game.
And then he's got 2 questions. The first one, I know beggars can't be choosers, but was that the worst win we've ever had? I know good teams win ugly, but that was well beyond ugly. But all our wins seem to be ugly. Like the one against Richmond, we sort of had to really dig in to get that one this year. The one against Richmond last year where we were outplayed and got the chocolates as well. So I think we haven't really seen a dominating performance outside of that Melbourne win in the last probably 4 years.
Agreed. You could put an argument we could have still be winless because even Melbourne, it was 3/4 time and we had a really good 6-minute patch where it was just fantastic.
Go, 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 go.
But every other game we've been. You could argue the other team should have won. But Richmond should have won. They had 2 set shots in the last 2 minutes and kicked points. That could have easily been a win to them. And obviously yesterday, if they kicked 2 more goals out of all their points and out in the fulls.
Well, I think you could make a strong case that our best performance was our draw.
Yes.
Well, that was probably better than... We probably played better then than the 3 wins.
Yes.
The second part of his question references Larky as well. Does he need a stint in the twos? I know there's no really options in the reserves for key forwards. Don't think Shotgun has done enough yet. So perhaps go a bit rogue and try Trembath early. Well, where was he? Why wasn't he playing twos? So they're still trying to hide him.
Oh, yeah. They're still hiding him from the scouts. He's on the list. Give him a game in the VFL. I don't know. Well, he must have been injured or something. Was he? I don't know.
Oh, it doesn't make sense to me.
Makes no sense to me.
Dave Walland, I'd hate to think how we would go without Sherry. Just to answer that last question, because I didn't really answer it, I don't think they'll drop Larky.
No.
As you mentioned there, Mitch, that no one's really knocking the door down. I mean, Shotgun's still learning the position. Will Dawson, for those who are unaware of his nickname. But, I think they'll persist with Larky 100%.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he's vice-captain as well. Not that, no one should be immune, but there's no one to replace him. Although the VFL won again. Yeah. They're going well.
They're top 4.
Well, premiership. VFL premiership this year. Let's go.
Which means AFL next year. Yep. Dave Warland, I think I said that right. I'd hate to think how we would go without Sherry. He's seriously our best and most important player. Just made Flynn look embarrassing. Well, we gave him an absolute bath, didn't we?
The commentators were glowing on him, as they should be. And, I think I've probably said enough about it. So, but I heartily agree.
Well, I'd be interested to see the coaches' votes because he'd be flying back up in that. You'd expect at least, if not 9, then 10. Sorry, if not 10, then 9.
Yeah, well, I watched both presses and both coaches spoke glowingly about him. So you'll get at least 9.
James Duke, did Robbie Hanson Jr. do enough? I assume he means to keep his position. I do not think so for mine. There are a couple of times he needed to go and didn't. Well, you referenced that before, didn't you?
Yes.
Would you, off the question without notice, would you play him again next week?
Oh, it's a big ground, another fast ground. Oh, it's too hard without notice. But
all right, are you playing him or Fisher?
Oh, his kicking's better than Fisher's, but Fisher did have 3 or 4 shots at goal in the last quarter. So, he's obviously didn't kick a goal from them. Had 2 posters, Fisher, didn't he, for the game? I thought Fisher was good early and late. But like a lot of them went missing in the quarters 2 and 3.
You didn't answer the question. Come on, you're a politician sort of operator here. Are you playing Hanson Jr. or Fisher next week? If you can only play one.
I'll play Fisher.
I think so too. But I think Harvey will come into the team and Fisher will move to the sub.
Yeah, I don't mind that. And what, you playing Casanti?
No.
So, anyway, we'll get through that in the preview pod. It's gone long enough, this pod. We're over the hour.
We are. Right, get to your waffle story before we sign off and let our listeners go. Actually, we do have a voice message here, which I'll play, and then you can get to your waffle story.
Okay.
Yeah, gee, I don't even really know how to feel about that. Happy to get the win. Guess my question is, what was going through your head 12 and a half minutes left in the 4th quarter when we're 3 goals down to West Coast? I was nearly in the headspace of dropping half the side. Anyway, on to next week.
Thank you, Rory, for that voice message. Chief, what was your thoughts when, as you mentioned, we're 3 goals down with 12 minutes remaining?
Well, I think I covered this a bit earlier, but to go over it again, I was looking, we haven't got a number 1 draft pick. Well, no point going to Kaltumi's top 20 because we haven't got a pick in the top 20. Half the team were rubbish. It wasn't a good feeling, but I knew if we actually... As I said, at 3/4 time, I was still positive we could get back, but we were playing nowhere near like we could get back. But the last quarter we did dominate, so I was still hopeful. But we had to take all our chances, which, as we mentioned, Fisher left a couple out there, but your man Cam stood up and Jai stood up, and we got the chocolates, but it was the ugliest win I can remember.
Yeah, 100%. But to answer it from my point of view, with 12 minutes to go, 3 goals down to a terrible side, and we'd played the worst football I've seen us play just about ever.
Yep.
I'm sort of the same. I was thinking, geez, there's going to be a second page of the watch list because there's 15 blokes going on.
Yeah.
I was thinking, actually, like, oh my God, this is going to be like ring the bells. This is going to be like a death pod.
Yeah, well, it was like another 6 years. That's what I was thinking, is that we're going to have another 6 years. We've already had 6 years of this crap. We're going to have another 6. And I just put it on the watch list, the club. Where do they think the list is at?
We were patiently impatient if you listen to
but have they overrated the list?
Well, I think
that's probably a discussion for another pod. But do the club know where we are? Because, I've got nothing against Whitlock and that trade, but it's probably going to be a top 4 pick we've given away. And where I think the club would have thought would be a 7, 8, 9 win season. And if we get to 7 from here, we'll be very happy.
Well, I think the club's just heard Clarko talk about my time at Hawthorn and then just assumed that that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, year 3, we rise.
Yeah.
Anyway, on to the waffle story. You almost cut this out, and probably fair enough. People turn off. Although we always sneak a bit of football in at the end sometimes. Don't we?
We have 15 false sign-offs.
Yeah, exactly. But we played at the start, Alkaline Trio. I found a way. We found a way as a club to win the game. And we saw them, what were you, about 18, 19? We saw them in Brooklyn, New York.
Yes, so I would have been
live.
about 20, I reckon.
Yeah, and anyway, one of your favourite music groups, alternate rock, and we've mentioned them a few times on this pod, and we found our way to the front, where we like to be, pole position, right in front of the lead singer, lead guitarist Matt Skiba, and it was a fairly rough crowd, like Brooklyn, New York. Everyone was punk. I was the only clean skin as a 50-year-old in the stadium, if you like. It wasn't a stadium, in the club.
Yeah, I don't think they had aircon either. And it was 38 degrees in Brooklyn.
Yes, and anyway, holding on to the front row, it was all quiet. I had a big Fijian looking bloke next to me, and it was very quietly spoken. But as soon as I first noted, he turned into a monster, and he was about 115 kegs, I reckon. And
keep going.
yeah, okay, and we were getting buffeted around. You had to hold on to the rail. We love a knife. Anyway, about, 2/3 of the way through the set, this song comes on, and I found a way. You found a way, back. You got pushed off the rail, back about 6 rows, and then what happened?
Yeah, well, I don't like being rough. There was a girl coming in. I don't really want to push back.
She was trying to grind in front of you.
Yeah. So anyway, I went back.
She was about 5'2".
I went back for the full experience into the mosh, into the circle of death, basically. And what happened was this bloke kept smashing into me. He was gone. He'd had too many frothies.
Yeah.
And he ended up hitting this girl. Not hitting her, running into her and nearly knocking her over. And she turned around and went bang.
Just
good
bang,
night.
dropped him.
And he was asleep on the bottom of the floor.
Just dropped him.
That was awesome. I gave her a high five after. I thought, you beauty.
And I was up the front, kept turning around and making sure you were okay. And yeah, I think Matt Skiba saw that and he said, here you go, Chief, have the set list at the end of the thing. Which I got a set list.
Yeah, and then we saw him again last year and the same thing happened.
Yes.
Well, the set list, not the punch.
Yeah, not the punch on. But yeah, it was a rough Brooklyn, New York crowd, wasn't it? Everyone had the big hipster beards and the tats and, it looked like they went. Some of them went there clearly just to be in the mosh and smash it into each other.
Yeah, and light up a couple of
besties,
we'll say.
Yeah,
a couple of besties.
a couple of besties.
Yeah.
The devil's lettuce.
Yeah. All right, that's enough waffle for us. Thanks again for tuning in and following, liking and subscribing across whatever listening platform. We love our boners, the listeners, and very much thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Yes. Calm the Kangas.
Thanks, guys. Gurus.
Good old North Melbourne, they're champions, you'll agree. North Melbourne is the team that plays to win for